All right, 3.7 note, standard form, the equation of a line. Probably the toughest one as far as, writing equations for lines. So the general format is ax plus by equals c. So the key features are x and y are both on the left-hand side, or technically on either side, but I'm always going to put them on the left-hand side. And basically, a, b, and c are just constants or numbers. I know a lot of you guys in the PSAT are like, what's a constant mean? A constant's just a number. So an example would be something like, 3x minus 4y equals 10, where a is 3, b would be negative 4, and c is 10. So basically that's what standard form is. Another thing about standard form to keep in mind, no fractions are allowed. So you cannot have, for a and b, you can't have like a half or a third. They got to be whole numbers. They can be negatives. That's okay. Some people, some books actually say that the x coefficient has to be positive, all right? Meaning that the number sitting in front of x has to be a positive number. On the SAT, sometimes they don't worry about it. So I don't know. I'm going to probably try to, I'll probably try to do mine so that they have a negative in there. All right, so let's kind of get into this. So number one says, write the standard form of the equation for each line. So the big idea is I need to get x and y on the same side. I think the easiest way here would just be to add 7y to both sides. If I add 7y to both sides, I'm going to end up with negative 6 equals 2x plus 7y. And if I want it to look right, I can just flip sides and just put the 2x plus 7y on the left, the negative 6 on the right. So now we are standard form. This right here was really no form. Like it's not slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals all by itself. So that was just kind of some random form. Number two, write the standard form for the equation of a line. This one is in slope-intercept. So we're basically converting from slope-intercept into standard form. So first thing I got to address, number one, is I need to clear the fraction. All right, so I need to clear that fraction out. And how I do that is, if there's only one fraction, I'm going to multiply. So multiply by the denominator, the bottom number. So everybody's going to get multiplied by 2. So I'm going to multiply u by 2, u by 2, u by 2. And I'm going to end up with 2y equals, well, times by 2 divided by 2 cancels. That's the whole point of multiplying by 2 was to get rid of it. And plus 8. All right, so step one, I've cleared the fraction. Now step two is I got to get x and y on the same side. So let's try to get x and y on the same side. So I'm going to minus the 9x from both sides, minus 9x, minus 9x. And that gives me a negative 9x, positive 2y equals 8. Now, some people right here would say, hey, we're good, we're in standard form. I'm going to kind of go the traditional old school route that says your x coefficient can't be negative. So I need to either divide or multiply everybody by a negative 1. And that's just going to change all the signs. And it's going to make me have a nice positive x coefficient. So I kind of feel a little bit more comfortable going old school and making it be positive. So there's your correct answer. All right, so just mechanics. We're just moving things around here. So now we need to sketch graphs. These are a little bit tougher because they're not in slope-intercept form. So the big deal when you want to sketch the graph of a line is you want to rewrite in slope-intercept form. Okay. Now, what does that mean? That basically means solve for y. I want to get y all by itself. So I'm going to write over here where I have a little bit of room. So x take away y equals negative 2. To get y all by itself, I'm going to subtract x from both sides. And I end up with negative y. Don't lose that negative sign. Negative y equals. And because slope-intercept form has the x term in front, I'm going to put the negative x in front. and then minus 2 in the back. And I'm so close. The only other thing I need to do is I need to multiply everybody by a -1, which basically just changes all the signs. And now I think I can graph this thing pretty nice. Now I can see very clearly that this is my y-intercept. This is what we were doing in 3-6. My y-intercept is 2. My slope is 1, up 1 over 1. And now I can graph my line. So basically I just graphed this equation, but I had to go do a few little steps to get it into slope-intercept form. So let's kind of do the same thing over here for number 4. So I'm going to start off with 4x plus 5y equals -15. First thing I want to do is I want to move the x term to the other side. Because again, my goal is getting y all alone. And I have 5y equals, put my x term in front, put my constant in the back. Now I need to divide everybody by 5. Everybody by 5. So y equals -4/5 x minus 3. So now it's looking really good shape. Now I'm in slope-intercept form. Sometimes I refer to that as SI. So if you ever see me write SI, I mean slope-intercept form. If I write SF, that's standard form. So slope-intercept form, I cross at -3. Sweet. Negative slope means I'm going to go down 4, right 5. Always go right. So down 1, 2, 3. Oh, I fly off my grid. That's okay. Down 4, right 2, 3, 4, 5. And then since I went down 4, right 5, I'm going to do the exact opposite. I'm going to go up left 4, or up 4, left 5. And just kind of stair-step it out. And there's the equation for that line. So graphing standard form, pretty much just solve it for y, change it in the slope-intercept. You're good to go. All right, now we need to do some writing, just like we did in 3-6. So write standard form for the equation here. So the first thing, I can't just go straight into standard form. The idea is we're going to want to go in slope-intercept form because we know how to create those now from 3-6. And then we're going to change it into standard form by moving pieces around. So let's just go ahead and let's start off in our slope-intercept form. Y equals, well, my slope is 7/5. My intercept is +3. So right now we're chilling here in slope-intercept form. Now to get it to standard form, first thing I notice is, crap, I got a fraction. So I need to clear out that 5. So I need to multiply everybody by 5 because these are going to cancel. And then I'm going to have 5y equals 7x plus 15. Now, a couple different ways you could do this. You could move the 5y to the right and the 15 to the left, and then you'll be sitting okay. Or I could just move the 7x. I'm going to do that. I'm going to move the 7x over to the left side where it belongs. And I have -7x, +5y equals 15. And then we're going to assume that we're not allowed to have a -x. So we're going to change all of our signs. You know, technically what I did was I multiplied or divided everybody by a -1, but no big deal. So if you were to go to Desmos and you were to graph this, you would have a line with this slope and it would cross at that y-intercept. Same thing for number 6, but this one's a little bit trickier because I have an m, so I have my slope I can write, but I have a point that I have to go through. So remember, I have an m of -4/3. I don't know what my b is right now. So we're going to have to do that solving thing that we did. So I have y equals mx plus b. And here's where I'm going to do the little move where I substitute the point in, just like we did yesterday. So I have 3 equals -4/3 times, and let's just call that -5/1, added to b. And we got to clean this up a little bit. So I have 3 equals 20/3 plus b. And then we're going to minus 20/3 from both sides. So subtract 20/3 and subtract 20/3. Here's where a calculator would come in handy. Or I could change 3 into 9/3, because 3 is really the same thing as 9/3. So now they have common denominators. 9 take away 20 is -11/3. So that's my B. So that was a lot of work. -11/3. So I'm going to kind of start working my way down now. I can have a slope-intercept equation. Y equals -4/3 x minus 11/3. So this is slope-intercept. This is what we did the other day. Now the little tweak to get it into standard is I'm going to have to clear out my fractions. So I need to multiply everybody by 3. Now the cool thing is these guys cancel, these guys cancel. So it's pretty much going to be 3y equals a -4x minus 11. And then now I just need to throw that x to the other side. So I'm going to add 4x, and we have 4x plus 3y equals -11. Wow, that was a lot of work. Okay, most of the work was just the 3/6 work. It was just at the very end that I had to kind of convert forms and clear out the fractions and move the x to the proper side. All right, let's keep on going. 7 and 8. -7, we got to go through 2 points. So the issue here is I don't know my m and I don't know my b. So I'm going to use a slope slide to get my m. I'm going to rewrite this 4, -4 right over here. Just kind of get rid of that. And I'm going to slope slide it out. So -3 minus -4, and then 2 take away 4. That gives me plus a positive, that's 1, plus a negative, that's -2. So it looks like -1/2 is my m. So let's kind of now use a point. I have my starter equation, y equals -1/2 x plus b. I can choose whatever point I want between these two. Neither of them looks any much better than the other, so I'm pretty much just going to take this first one and just jam that in. So that's -3 equals -1/2 x plus b. And this cleans up pretty nice. -3 equals -1 plus b. Then we're going to add 1 to both sides. And again, I'm talking kind of quick here, but you can pause the video in between steps. But the correct answer for my intercept is -2. So now that I have that, I should be able to write a slope-intercept equation. I should be able to say y equals mx plus b. And now our ultimate goal is we got to get down here into standard form. So we got to clear fractions, move people around. So let's clear some fractions out. I see a 2, so we need to multiply everybody by 2. So that goes away. And I have 2y equals a -1x minus 4. And now the only thing left to do is add that 1x to both sides. And we should be looking pretty good. X plus 2y is -4. Bam. So now we're in standard form. Number 8. We want to be parallel. So if we want to be parallel to that guy, that means we need to keep our slope the same. So we always need to use the same slope for parallel. B is what I don't know. So we got to solve for B. So let's check this out. Y equals -8x plus b. I grab my y and my x and I jam them in. -5 equals -8 times 1 plus b. And that's -5 equals -8. Added to b. Add 8 to both sides. Ba-bam, ba-bam. I get b equals 3. So now that I got my m and my b, slope-intercept is ready to rock and roll. Y is mx plus b. Cool thing is we finally have one that we don't have to worry about fractions, so there's no clearing fractions to be done. I can just simply move my 8x to the proper side, and we should be money. 8x added to y equals 3. Boom, good to go. So not too bad on that one. It's nice when you don't have fractions. Let's see what we got. Oh, it looks like we're on our last one, number 9. So number 9, the big dog out of all of them. I got to go through a point. I got to be perpendicular. So remember, perpendicular is I got to do the opposite reciprocal slope. I'm just going to abbreviate that. Opposite reciprocal slope. So this line has a slope of 2. My line needs to be, and remember that's like 2 over 1. I need to flip it, and I need to change its sign. So I now know what my slope needs to be. I don't know my b yet, so let's solve for b. Let's go y equals mx plus b. Grab your x and y values, plug them in. 5 equals negative 1/2 times a negative 5 added to b. What do we got here? This is 5 equals, that's a positive 5/2 plus b. And minus 5/2 minus 5/2. I strongly suggest some of you guys use your calculator on these fractions if you're battling. Doing it by hand, 5 is really the same thing as 10 over 2, 10/2. So 10/2 minus 5/2 gives me an answer of 5/2. Now we're ready to rock and roll with slope-intercept form. So for slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b. But we need standard form. So to get it in standard form, we got to clear some fractions first. Times by 2, times by 2, times by 2. And I get 2y equals negative x plus 5. And last move, get x on the proper side. Add x at x. X plus 2y is 5. There we go. A lot of algebra. Not a lot of geometry there, but a lot of algebra. But that's why you take algebra before you take everything else, because you're going to use it all the time. All right, we should be ready to wrap up this chapter in 3-7. See you.